I now welcome Mr. Kev Mitchell. So if you could please give your name and state the capacity in which you appear today. And I'm sorry we're a bit late.
No, you're right. My name's Kev Mitchell. Capacity here today is driver. 26 years. Drove everything from light rigid right through to B-double and road trains. I nearly pulled out of coming
So what
here.
I'll do, Mr. Mitchell, sorry, what I'll do now, I'll come down and say, I want you to give an opening statement.
Okay.
And you get everything on the record that you want to put out.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I almost didn't come today. And the reason is I've been in this industry 26 years. My dad, my brother, even my cousin are in this industry as well. And we've all had the same opinion that nothing has changed. No matter what the enactment of politicians, senators, people in higher areas have tried to do for the transport industry, it still remained the same. And I've done Sydney, local, interstate, intrastate. The problem we have is from state to state, we have different regulations.
Yeah.
Why? Why is it that we have to have different road regulations for a country that is wholly and solely reliant on transport?
That's a very good question. Yep.
I've worked through the container industry for 16 years, and I've seen my fair share of mistakes. I've had a fatigue-related accident probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I had a fatigue-related accident in a B-double. On the cusp of that was a 17-hour day, and that's just doing local. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you can do. I really don't.
All right. So what we have at Kev, all right.
Yeah.
So what we agree on, that the transport industry certainly has more challenges, I believe, than any other industry in Australia. I also want to, and if this provokes conversation, please fire up. Finally, due to a pandemic in terms of COVID-19, finally we've now got legislators and leaders in our nation politically identifying or actually saying that truckies, are you happy to be filmed?
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's the first thing, sorry, need to do
Right.
that first. Who actually have acknowledged that you are essential workers.
We've always been essential.
Oh,
we've just been ignored.
Absolutely.
We've just been thoroughly ignored.
Yep.
But you ask yourself the question, why is the younger generation now not interested in getting in the transport game? I've got 7 friends that are in the late 25s to 30s. They're gone. They're out of the industry already.
Okay, well let's explore that, because at a Transport Industry Standards Forum I held in Canberra in 2019, we realised, and we talked for about 6 hours, and there was representatives from from every organisation you could imagine, and even better, there was truck drivers in the room and their partners or their wives, and we talked about it, and we went through all the payment terms, fatigue management, lack of skills and training, crooks who will give a licence in 6 hours, and all this sort of stuff. And at the last part of the conversation, I said, right, how do we attract young people into the industry? And I said, if any poor young person was listening to the last 6 hours and we wonder why we can't get them into the industry, doesn't that say it all? Which there was no argument. So Kev, you tell me with your experience, why these young people got out?
The reason being is when you look at it, they look at what their fathers have gone through. Their dads have never been home. I'm a dad of 2 kids. I haven't seen them in years because I was always on the road, chasing the big dollars, driving the big bonnets, and I can attest to the guys behind me. I drove some places because I got offered a lot of chrome on my truck to look good. I did all those when I was younger. Now I drive a state-of-the-art Scania, which is the most comfortable thing I've ever driven, and I hate to say it, but the reason we don't have any young guys coming in the industry is we're burning up. We are burning up drivers like at a rate of knots. But what we're doing is we're replacing them with drivers from overseas schemes. that cannot. And in all honesty, we've just lost a driver in our yard. When he came for the position, and he's a 30-year-old driver from Nepal, he couldn't reverse a trailer. He could not reverse a trailer. I just looked at him, and my boss said to me, "Well, you're going to have to train him."
Yeah. Okay.
Why should I be training? Why should I be training a competent operator? I just shouldn't be. I've got many other things to do. I work for a single company now. I'm virtually a solo driver, and in my day, I deliver multiple drops with a forklift on the rear. I look after the transport, the registration, the tyres, the servicing of the trucks, everything. I have to do the whole lot because that's the way it is at the moment. And I'm begging and pleading. Look, I took 3 years out of the industry, Glenn. I walked away from it because I got burnt out. 16 to 18 hours a day. I've got 2 companies that owe me 40 grand in superannuation that have, funnily enough, have shut doors.
Yeah, strange that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's strange.
Changed names or just completely
Oh,
gone?
no.
Phoenix?
Shut doors, disappeared. Just magic. They're gone. And I'm out money. And how they catch you is they keep you busy. They'll pump you 14 or 15 or 16 hours a day in and out of Port Botany, and they keep you busy. So you don't have time to ring your superannuation company and check up, and you don't have time to get on because they're on the phone chasing you. And then when you realise that after you've left after 2 or 3 years, you're $63,000 in the hole for superannuation, you know?
So let me throw this one to you, Kev. This is not new. There's so many stories of all this sort of stuff over the years. And then one would think as a truck driver, governments, and this is not political or either persuasion, would have my back.
Yeah.
And what we do know we have in this nation, and let me just put this, we have bodies such as the Fair Work Ombudsman, and I'm really wholly of the belief the Fair Work Ombudsman, when they finally do get someone, when they finally do, can do a good job. And I'm critical because I believe they're grossly underfunded. And it leads me to the next thing. So we have wage theft, we have superannuation theft, but we also have an industry. Over all the years I've been at running protection rackets for the rat bags. And I've had many conversations with a lot of good leaders in the industry saying we've got to call that out. Because what that eventually does, and this is with my other hat on, not only the drivers getting screwed or the owner drivers getting screwed, you have decent employers. There are a lot of decent employers out there.
There are.
And they treat their drivers, their forkies and their admin staff and their mechanics as family. And these people have put everything they've got on the line to go buy that first truck.
And I'll agree with that, but it's the 1%, Glenn.
Yes, that's right.
It is the 1%. But we also have...
I'd probably say it's a little bit high, but anyway,
Well, it's probably about 5% really, in all honesty. But we also have a pandemic problem in this country with transport. Everyone that I've talked to in the last 20 years have all said the same thing. Oh, we need the days of Razorback, you know, where we blockaded the highway.
You know, I'm going to have to bring Mike back on there who said that. There you go. So he's like a dog in the box, ready to get out. But the foot's going mad.
Look at him.
Keep going. Sorry.
We need the days of Razorback. We need the blockade. That's all it is.
Oh,
Truckie, and I'll tell you now, Truckie's a cheap talk. I was scared to come here, and purely for the reason of reprisal.
well, you're not mentioning anyone's name, mate. So you
No,
work at this.
but the companies that I've worked for,
Sure.
and I've carted everything from liquids to solids, containers. I was tipper driver for 3 years. I've seen all sides of the industry, and that's the one thing my father always said. You're going to go into this stupid trucking game, get into it. Find every facet of it. Watch it, learn it, understand where you do and you don't go. And I've done all that. I've broken the laws over the years. There's not a truck driver I know that could attest to not squeezing the end of the ruler a little bit on certain areas. But we don't have a policy to protect us. I've lost 7 friends through suicide that are all truck drivers.
Well, can I just come in there, Kev? And I'm going back to this, if I may.
Yeah,
I
please.
do want to hear you, but just wait. This is where I go back to saying, you think someone would have our backs or your backs, the trucking industry. Okay?
They don't care.
And let's weed that down. So the truckies out there listening, the ones saying nothing's going to change. There are laws in this land that actually says thou shalt do so many hours work and thou shalt be paid so many rupees at the end of the week for that effort. The trouble is, truckies are out there, and owner drivers and business operators, doing what they do best. Moving freight, doing it as safe as possible, quick as efficiently as possible, get home, feed the family, get a pair of shoes on the kids and get them to school. Simplistic, that's what they do. But no one's enforcing the basic law in this land. That is the problem. We have the rules there. We have what's called the minimum award and that sort of stuff. So in this nation, Kev, you get rewarded more by doing the wrong thing. That's the truth.
Do you know what the minimum wage?
I don't mean the driver. I mean operators as well as
just on to clear something up there as well. Do you know what the average wage of a local driver is?
No, I have no idea.
I worked for one company in Sydney, and I basically, they called me from another company and said, "Come and work for us. We need you.
This is local? Or,
yep, local. I was driving side loaders.
Oh, okay.
They were quite happy to pay me to pull a single trailer. They were quite happy to pay me $21 an hour.
21 as a permanent or
as a permanent? $21 an hour. $22 to pull a double, or $29 to drive a side loader. And they gave it to me. They gave me a nice little printed out form. They go, "There you go. There's your wage package." And I just read it and I just rolled it up, threw it at them, and walked out. $21 an hour. Heavy rigid drivers make more money on an hourly rate than most trailer drivers.
Okay, so to put that into perspective, what's the award rate? Do you know? If you don't know,
to be honest, I do have the Fair Work Australia email.
I know for road trains it's about $24.
$24 an hour to pull a road train.
24 for
$22
for
to pull a road train.
No, for a double.
For a double.
$22 to pull a double.
Yeah, an hourly rate.
God.
Might get 31.50 an hour, that's how it's in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for the purposes of the Hansard, my son is a road train operator and I know what he gets paid.
Yeah.
And it's a hell of a lot more than the crappy award. I keep saying the crappy award, but what I'm trying to highlight is that there are many not getting paid the award.
That's right.
And this is not me making up, this is the evidence that's coming from truck drivers.
And most drivers that work for a company are week to week. I am.
As in casual?
No, pay-wise. We
sorry.
live week to week.
Oh, you live week to week?
I live week to week. I own my unit.
Yeah.
I've worked my back off for it along with my wife, but we still live week to week. We still have bills to pay. And to be honest, I'm still doing 70 hours a week local. Yeah, I'm doing 70 hours a week as a local driver. Plus, I do a backup Sydney-Brisbane every fortnight, and every other fortnight I do a Sydney-Melbourne run as well, plus my local gear. Right? Yeah. And I had to argue with this company that I work for because they haven't owned trucks in 15 years and they just went out and bought two brand new Scanias and a couple of trailers. And they went, "Well, this is the job. This is what you need to do." They had no idea about rules, regulations, tyres. They bought a truck with European spec tyres for Australian roads. I chewed a set of tyres in 48,000 Ks.
Yeah, but it's black and round. So.
It is black and round. It goes round and round.
Yeah.
I get that. But at the end of the day, dangerous companies are out there. And I mean.
Yeah, sure. So, Kev, to help, I really want to get this out because we do have people that listen online.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing here is that we must take it. I tilt my hat to the truck drivers that come out and tell it as it is. And so my opposition can't say it's just me making it up and being political and all that. There's nothing more powerful when truck drivers have come to this committee every time and confessed to breaking the law. Confessed to saying this is what we do to make a quid. That's a huge statement. The sad part is, it'll be all on Hansard. I'll talk about it in the Senate. We'll all write a report. Oh, don't worry, it's going to be a doozy. The committee and myself, and we'll to and fro about that. And then it'll sit on the shelf and probably collect dust. Because my last one that had to do with the trucking industry, the government took 3 years to answer. 3 years to tell me to go and bite my elbow because, whatever reason it was. So how powerful is that when we have truck drivers actually saying, we work outside the fatigue management, we do all this sort of stuff, and all that we can have the enforcement officers, whether in Victoria, Queensland, New South Wales or wherever, you make a spelling mistake in your logbook, oh boy, we're going to take a week's pay off you.
Interesting about logbooks. I've listened to everything. I've even spoken to the NHVR. They can't give me a definite answer on one thing. If I'm driving back from Brisbane and I'm due for my break, and I'm on the Pacific and I'm like, I can't find anywhere to pull over. All they can say to me is, well, you need to pull over before your break. But if there's nothing for the next 30 minutes,
we're going to pull over.
Where do I pull over? Well, I'm going to squeeze that 30. And then you get there, and then the alarm goes off, and you go, oh, and then you're looking at your thing, and you go, all right, 12 k's down the road, there's a spot I can park. Right? You've broken the law. Automatically, you've broken the law. You're a criminal, and that's the way we're treated as criminals. Yeah. They did a I think it was about a year or two ago. They had a blitz on trucks in Sydney. They pulled up 6,800 odd trucks, and the way the spin doctors from the New South Wales Police were talking is that they just busted a major ring of criminal activity within the trucking game. They pulled one guy over on meth, one guy had a no license, the other guy had another infringement somewhere, and the way they wrote it up was that they busted this big national trucking scandal within the transport industry. And I read the report and I read all the little bits and pieces, and I wrote back to them and I said to them, you got 3 out of 6,000. Really? Is that all? I got blocked, banned and reported on Facebook from the New South Wales Police for daring to speak. How dare I? But you have also in New South Wales, the RMS has their own agenda. And if they say they don't, they're lying. Everyone has an agenda. The RMS is there to create money.
Well,
by finding drivers.
Just on that, we invited the RMS to.
Oh yeah, I seen that bit. Yeah. Nah, they were never going to turn up.
Yeah. No,
and if you thought that they were going to turn up, I would like to know why you would think that, because they're never going to come to the table. These are the people you want at the dinner table to have these discussions, but they won't. It's the same as having the discussion about driver fatigue. I've had a bit of a behind the wheel going over Karoo River. The Scania was great. Wake me up. Ooh. Oh, pull over, jump in the bunk, have a nap. If I'm late, I'm late. That's the way I look at it now. I did all that wild stuff from my early years right up to my late 30s. I've had enough. I love driving trucks. There's nothing more. And when I talk to people and they say, what do you do? The one thing I say to them is, I'm a professional operator. That's the way I treat myself, as a professional operator. There's lots of cowboys in every industry, but this industry seems to it's like a bag of screaming cats. This industry, and it's always that, it's on Today Tonight, road truckie. You always see those things come up, but you never see good operators getting awarded, not by companies, but by general people. You never ever get to see a good operator hailed for what he does.
And look, and in conclusion, and I'm buoyed by this with my conversations with industry representatives, particularly over the last 2 years, that I believe, and they'll speak for themselves, they're sick of it too.
Yeah. And
it goes to my line of, we've been very good at running a protection racket, we being the industry, running protection rackets for the rat bags at the expense of the good operators. And I am buoyed by the majority of the transport associations now who are not arguing with me.
Yeah.
We need to call that behaviour out. We need assistance from government. Government can't just keep burying their heads in the sand and ignoring the safety concerns. We've created an industry around safety by wearing a high-vis shirt and a pair of boots now. We've now made our truckies safer. But on saying that, yes, we've come a long way, the trucking industry. We've come a huge way. But we're falling, we're lying to the public to think everything's rosy in our backyards. It's not. And our backyards are the highways that we share with every other road user. And on saying that, our truckies want to be safe, but they need assistance from government to clamp down on the ones that aren't doing it right. Not just that we'll pull up a truckie because of a spelling mistake or a tail light out.
How many more drivers have to die before this government enacts and gets off their back and does something? How many more?
To which I can't answer. Kevin, can I just say thank you very much,
No,
mate?
thank you.
And
I
thank you
appreciate
for coming along. And you do have parliamentary privilege. You didn't name anyone. If there are any blowback, you need to contact us. If
Thank
there is
you.
any blowback. All right, look, what we'll do now, thanks very much, we will now take a break and we will come back at 1:30 p.m. with Mr. Robert Bell via teleconference, okay?